Ever wonder what it really takes to make zero trust work in practice? Welcome to Zero Trust Journey, the podcast that cuts through the noise and dives into real stories and strategies to bring zero trust to life. The cybersecurity world is flooded with buzzwords and vendor hype, but here we focus on what truly matters, practical insights and lessons from those who've walked the path. Each episode is inspired by real experiences, grounded in our research, and enriched by the challenges and triumphs of our guests. If you're ready to grow your skills, deepen your insights, and take actionable steps toward a stronger zero trust strategy, you've come to the right place. Let's get started. The views and opinions expressed on the Zero Trust Journey podcast, webcast are solely those of the participants and do not represent the views of their employers or affiliated organizations. This content is provided for educational and informational purposes only. Neither the employers nor any sponsors are liable for actions taken based on the content discussed.
All right, our next section is Zero Trust News. So this is where we curate some of the latest and current news, and we just talk about it and go through the riff. My good friend Rick McElroy actually suggested a name we should say or call this I Zero Trust What You're Saying. So again, just unintended, right? We'll start with this one. So the first news I have is from the website called executivegov.com, and it's NIST seeks public input on zero trust guidance. This is where you get to actually input your commentary and anything that you want to suggest when the NCCOE is putting the draft out there. So again, NIST Implementation Guide on Zero Trust Architecture, or ZTA as they say it. And it is out for the comments. It's a 45-page guidance, contains technical data, findings, you name it. There are 19 zero trust architecture implementation demonstrated during the vendors consultations as well. So in case you're using any one of those vendors, great conversation starter with those as well, and talk about, hey, how did you guys contribute to implementing a zero trust architecture? Can you tell me more about it? So leveraging those smart resources where you already have an existing relationship. So consider that.
Yeah, what I love about that is that anybody can go and submit comments on all of that stuff. So like Victor, like you were mentioning, like if you've got a real world implementation of anything in there, I'm sure they would love to hear, about your experiences and maybe where the guidance isn't quite, accurate about, the organizational reality of things. So totally encourage people to comment.
100%.
Yeah, so the second one that we have today is making zero trust architecture achievable. And what I love about this is from securityboulevard.com. And this talks about, what, NIST, again, like we're mentioning here, has been doing, with Tenable and a whole bunch of other private sector, vendors to make zero trust guidance, a reality. And something really awesome about this and something to keep in mind, for a lot of our folks who are watching this, is that there's two spaces that are kind of coming out of this that haven't really been talked too much about. And you'll probably hear, whatever companies you're utilizing, within your organization today, probably talking about this or trying to sell this to you. But there's two technologies: exposure management and data security posture management, or DSPM. Now, like what's hypercritical, like, and Victor and I have talked about this, like probably till we're blue in the face, is like understanding all of the assets and the protect surfaces that you have within your organization. And the goal of these two technology categories is to make that easier for organizations. Now, something to keep in mind, just like we were mentioning earlier in the show today, is that you should remain skeptical of these categories. They're emergent categories, so they're still heavily evolving. So, and sometimes you'll see them titled within different products called different things like zero trust assessments or zero trust readiness or anything like that. You make sure that you're coming to the table when you test those technologies with like actual business use cases that you want to solve. And it's key, again, for these technologies are supposed to make it easier for you to inventory, enumerate, and assess assets across your enterprise. Victor, I don't know if you had anything like on this. I thought it was a really interesting article and brought up a number of different topics, like all kind of consolidated there.
Yeah, no, but when I read this news, I think again, to your point, Telemann was able to like just harness its expertise to best use security analytics and all that. I read it, and to me, it just tells me if you're a customer of Tenable, go talk to them, because now if they were able to actually contribute to zero trust architecture and making it achievable, that's a conversation, almost a free conversation for you to go talk to them and mature use zero trust architecture, or talk to them, hey, what else can we do? How can we maximize your platform? You already own it, you're already using it. Make the most of it and apply it to zero trust architecture. Now, this is where, again, customer relationship comes in, where you take the most of it. The next one I have is from IT Pro. This is understanding NIS2 directives, the role of SASE and zero trust. So that's one space. I think I've stayed very close to SASE space and continue kind of doing some research. One thing on this news, I was disappointed. They never put a definition of NIS2, which is okay.
Oh.
I had to go Google it. Network and Information Systems Directive 2022. Again, that's fine. Another bad part about this link or URL or the news is, in order to download, oh my God, there's a long form. If you look at it, like, come on, I just want to read the news. If this is really a news, make it a news. But
Yeah.
anyways, if you're really invested in it, like myself, I did go through it, enter first name, last name, company email address, phone number, country, company name, company size, industry, blah, blah, blah. It's literally like almost 10 fields before you actually get to see the actual news or report what they're putting out there. So just if you're in the SASE space and trying to learn more about SASE and zero trust, and if you have some European footprint, that's where the NIS2 falls under. So look at it. It's worth a read.
No, it's a great call out and a great segue to our next piece of news that we're talking about, when it comes to SASE. So Zscaler recently released their Threat Labs 2024 report, which talks specifically about encrypted attacks and what you can do around all of those in your organization. Now, as we always caveat, right, a lot of these threat reports by a variety of different vendors, take what you need from these reports, because there is a lot of valuable information, because they're using what they're seeing in their customer environments and the larger threat landscape.
Mhm.
But there's usually an angle to like why these reports are put out. But what I thought was awesome about this report was, as traffic gets more and more kind of encrypted kind of across, what organizations are doing to safeguard, their data and their traffic, it's getting harder to detect different types of attacks. And so highly recommend combing through this report, because they talk about TLS and SSL inspection, which is key to being able to decrypt that traffic, inspect it. And what I wanted to call out was, while traffic is becoming more and more encrypted, there still is metadata around that traffic that organizations can leverage to detect different types of attacks. So if you have a network detection and response solution or a network analytics solution in place, think about things like Zeek or Corelight or any of those other technologies, they still provide an immense amount of value. And from like an IoT perspective or anything like that, they can detect C2 traffic and those types of things. So if you have that in your network and you've got that deployed as part of your larger zero trust strategy, I'd still keep at it, because it's still going to be a valuable resource. But check out this resource from Zscaler. These threat reports usually have a lot of actionable advice that you can take to kind of go and improve your security posture.
The next one I have is from Arnet, and the title is Home Affairs Opens Consultation on Zero Trust Principles. So as I go through the news, it's the Department of Home Affairs is actually gearing up to bring new zero trust guidelines for the federal government, and is seeking public input to shape its policies, which is, I think, refreshing in a way, but also it tells you that if you have a good story or bad story, or if you have some opinion, this is where you can actually go and help them. as we talk about and read through the news, there's one thing I want to highlight is called zero trust culture. So this is where they also talk about establishing a zero trust culture, and they're doing it within the federal government, but also you can apply it to your organization as well. Go through it, pretty clean news, but lastly, towards the end, they have the guiding principles of split into 5 parts. So they also go through that, which again really helps you to have the zero trust information a little bit bite size, chunk size, like actionable. So I feel like this news was a good one for practitioner level.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, any opportunity that we get to share, best practices or kind of the realities of these things, I think we all have a stake in, making sure that, we're giving out the best guidance possible. And especially if we're being asked to input, things, as we are, with the Department of Home Affairs, don't pass up an opportunity to share your experience and stories, especially if it can help another organization better secure themselves.
Okay, so the next one we have is from federalnewsnetwork.com, and the title is Federal Executive Forum: Zero Trust Strategies in Government Progress and Best Practices 2024. Now, for those who drive around, there is actually a podcast that you can listen in, and it's about, I think, 37 minutes, so it's not that long. You will hear straight from Randy Resnick, who is Director of Zero Trust Portfolio Management Office at DoD, Mark Stanley, Enterprise Cybersecurity Architect and Zero Trust Lead at NASA, Brandy Shaznez. Again, these names, they are the people who are actually implementing Zero Trust for the government level, and they have real world, some sort of advices, if you will. Amir Dastori, CISO at Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, Chris Roberts, Gary Bartlett, and moderator. So again, this is a good 37-minute investment if you can, while driving or doing something that doesn't require your full attention, to actually go through it and listen through it.
Any podcast that's going to share best practices, wink wink, listening to the right one right here, is definitely worth your while. And again, like Victor mentioned, you got the who's who of ZT on this podcast, folks that are actually on the ground implementing things. So totally worth a listen. I'm probably going to listen to it after we're done with the show today.
So the next one we have is from Microsoft. DoD Zero Trust Strategy proves security benchmark years ahead of schedule with Microsoft collaboration. That's new. All of my project manager friends out there, you must be like, wow, ahead of schedule. Again, this post is also, you can listen in if you don't have time to read, but it goes through in detail how Microsoft is helping DoD, and there's actually a report, DoD Zero Trust report, in the section as well. They go through components of success. So that's, again, it's a good data point for you if you're trying to implement Zero Trust, and they go through the protection area and the components, what it takes. They have a nice diagram in there where it shows security policy enforcement. Again, it's a good read. If you don't have time to read it, you can actually listen through it. I picked up this news for 2 reasons: components of success, and something that in their news you'll read, it says, proves that you do not need some shiny new bell or whistle to realize your zero trust goals. I can't stress enough and put bold and make it like, I don't know, size 100 on that one. Proves that you don't need some shiny new bell or whistle to realize your zero trust goals. I'm going to leave it over there.
Yeah. And what I love about this is, funny enough, like our guest on the show today was talking about, the thing that was driving all of this was flank speed, which was launched by the United States Navy to accelerate their zero trust deployment. Like some wild numbers in here, like as you kind of read through the article, 560,000 identities and devices. And the goal was to deploy Zero Trust across their estate while improving the overall user experience. I mean, that's insane. And the fact that they were ahead of schedule on all of that, there's a lot of very critical pieces that you can take from their report and what they've done to make your zero trust deployment successful within your organization. And kind of like pivoting over to things that can help make you successful and kind of should be at the core of what you're doing. There was an awesome paper recently published, literally yesterday, by the Australian government, specifically the Australian Cybersecurity Centre, in partnership with CISA, CCCS, which is the Canadian Cybersecurity Centre of Excellence, United Kingdom's National Cybersecurity Center. This is a partnership across a number of different countries. And the goal of this paper was to talk about choosing secure and verifiable technologies for your deployment, whether it be zero trust or other things in your organization. And if you all haven't heard Jen Easterly and the rest of CISA preaching this, from the top of their mountains and in every conference that they can get at, secure by design is at the core of all of this. And doing threat analysis on potential vendors or partners that you're bringing in to deploy that technology within your organization. This paper goes in detail about things that you should think about, from supply chain, open source repositories and the libraries that you're utilizing, within your organization, maybe for critical processes, and how to go and validate all of these things and make sure that the things that you're choosing are verifiable to a point. Like if a vendor says that they're going to bring a certain type of security technology or posture to your organization, this paper talks about how you can call them on their bluff, like around all of that, and ensure they're using secure by design principles. And there's a lot of guidance from a procurement perspective in this paper. Again, maybe I'm getting excited about something that's, a pretty long read, but I can tell you that, having worked in roles where I had to partner with procurement, and procurement usually has their risk register, their risk assessment framework that they're doing, and it's a checkbox exercise for vendors coming in. This is a refreshing take on things in the world that we live in now, where supply chain attacks are a reality. Secure by design is getting the focus and attention that it deserves. And so I'm super excited about this. I hope that you all, give it at least a skim. Victor, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to kind of skim through this, but there's a lot of crazy, awesome advice, in this paper.
Yeah, no, I didn't get a chance to actually skim through it. This is on my list for this weekend. But good call out. Thank you for sharing with our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of with that, thank you for joining us on the Zero Trust journey. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this out with the rest of your friends and your wider network of folks. We'd love to hear your feedback. If you're interested in sharing your own Zero Trust story or any topics of interest that you'd like us to talk about on the show, reach out anytime at ztjourney.com.
Thanks for joining us on Zero Trust Journey. If this episode sparked new ideas or gave you practical insights, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your network. Your support helps us continue bringing you valuable conversations and real-world stories. We'd love to hear from you. Share your feedback or even your own Zero Trust journey by reaching out to us. Your story could inspire others in the community. Stay tuned for more expert insights, compelling stories, and actionable advice to help you advance your Zero Trust strategy. Until next time, stay curious and keep making progress on your Zero Trust journey. See you in the next episode.